research. My name is Carla. I am a independent researcher with a background in computer studies and digital arts. I also have a PhD where I do use of robots in performance. Now I'm starting to get into the AI in artificial. So these are the questions that I started my research. In what ways does the development of artificial intelligence influence theatre and dramaturgy? What type of narratives emerge from combining theatre and artificial intelligence? Is the theatre practice aligned with some of the current ethical concerns? What is affected by it? A bit of background. We recently see a lot of discussion about the ethical use. There's a lot of literature being produced. There is reports at institutional level. The EU has several reports where they analyze the pros and the cons, the benefits and the risk of using AI. We propose an European agency for artificial intelligence, but I think it has been rejected by the European Parliament. We also have reports from the House of Lords. They also look into the privacy, job losses, surveillance, also the benefits and the risks. And the NHS, that has created an NHS AI lab in collaboration with other libraries. They have produced reports in collaboration with other libraries. Also looking into the transparency of data, privacy, and inequalities regarding the healthcare. In the creative industries, last year we had the Hollywood strikes, where started by the Writers Guild of America in dispute with the Alliance of Motion Pictures. If someone doesn't know, it's an association with Paramount Pictures, Netflix, Amazon. It represents all of these big studios. And then it was joined by the Screen Actors Guild and American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. They had a big list of demands, but they had dedicated some concerns to the regulation of AI in the film industry. The Writers Guild of America established that AI cannot write or rewrite material, also concerned with transparency in the use of the technology, recognizing the writer's rights. And then the Screen Actors Guild is concerned with the use of image and likeness, reproducing voice, and also concerned when someone passes away. And if a performer has their image or their likeness replicated and used in other productions, they need to be paid for it. So it's kind of one of the first attempts to really strongly regulate AI in this industry. And I think everybody knows this word. They've generated quite controversial. Jason Allen's and Boris Elgason, the electrician, were awarded big prizes in their categories, and apparently the jury did not know or did not recognize at first that it was AI generated. There has been some claims that it's unfair, it's cheating to use AI in the creative tool, including Boris Elgason. He claims that he was a mock entry. He refused the award because he wanted to test and generate a debate. And moving a little bit more into the artificial intelligence in healthcare, because I'm going to tackle this also in the theatre. Obviously, we have the Pepper robot that is using children in hospitals, and this is like the Sheffield's NHS Foundation Trust to kind of engage children, to relax them, to not become anxious. And this is one of the projects that the NHS AI lab has, Dr. at Home. They use devices and platforms to monitor the health of elderly people. And they also have, this is from the website, they have a list of programs. They have quite extensive support in programs that they wanted to be testing, in cancer research, in medical imaging, in monitoring, also preventive measures. And because they have these programs, ethics initiatives. So, like I mentioned, they're partnership with ethical institutes to come up with a report of algorithm assessment, and also with science-wise to come up with also analysis of the ethical. There's There's also, obviously, there is concern about bias in medical practice, data transparency and privacy, and also social inequalities in the access of medical care, which is connected also to how bias work. There's also research. Mori et al. Is research done by medical research based at Oxford University. They also raise concerns about privacy, security, transparency. They also talk about trust between patients and doctors. But then I would like to focus on Ian Farnell, who is a tutor at Warwick University of Theatre, and he kind of wrote an article about the notion of care, also looking into theatre productions. And he kind of claims that care needs to be rethink as well, because it's based on trust, emotional connectivity, physical connection as well. And I will be looking at these three plays, but focus on the text, not the production. One is Sayonara by Orise Yasui, Margaret Time by Jordan Carlson, and Glow Stick by Vlad Buduchea. Sayonara tells the story of a woman that is terminally ill, and she's given this robot companion to ease her loneliness and to give her comfort, and then he recites poetry. They recite poetry to another. It starts to kind of have a bit of a mismatch in terms of how the human relates to the robot, a certain projection, but also the robot starts to kind of have this poetry, almost like contaminated by human emotions, let's say. And at the end of the play, he recites poetry, talks about being okay, and the technician thinks that it might be malfunctioning. So the themes are facing mortality, loneliness, empathy, the longing for human connection, which is projected in this case in the robot, and kind of a natural human versus artificial technology. Marjorie Prime is a bit similar, but it's a story of a woman who has been given an hologram, artificial intelligence hologram. There is a replica of her late husband, and to help her with dementia, with a memory loss. But this relationship brings up some family traumas and some family problems, especially with her daughter, Tess, which later then also will be having a hologram of a deceased mother that also brings about this relationship between mother and daughter that's been quite complicated. So again, you focus on, with a little bit of nuance, aging and facing mortality, memory, especially how fragile and memory is, death, the loss, dealing with grief, family relationships, and again, this projection of the human onto technology, particularly when the characters they project or they get confused by the presence of this hologram replica of loved ones. It kind of generates a bit of a conflict. And finally, Glow Stick, which is again a woman who is also in a care home, has been given a robotic nurse, asks for a real nurse and keeps being denied. The robot companion doesn't really understand why. There's this kind of miscommunication between the two, of misunderstanding. But and it also again faces mortality, illness, medical care, the natural versus artificial, the idea of memory, because she keeps telling the memories of the past, remembering the death of a loved one, trauma, and confinement. Being in healthcare, at some point in the play, they break through the imagination. They go into an imaginary trip. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So the idea, I think there are certain general ideas. All of them are set in a near future scenario, not exactly distant future. There is this idea of replacement or a replica of someone to offer comfort. To offer comfort of someone deceased, a contrast between the natural and artificial that brings out what it means to be human, a projection of human nature also on technology, and reflected on the emotional impact and why providing care is important, and also the notion of care, what does that actually mean? But At least I see that these narratives are still very attached to common sci-fi tropes. And they're not really reflecting some of the ethical concerns that we have today. I would put an exception to glow stick because it does reflect on nurses' strikes. There's a nurse strike. They talk about how hard their job is. So there is that social element in the play as well. So these are plays written by people. They use AI as a theme, as a character, but I would like to also look into the narratives of when it is a creative platform. So I believe a lot of you might know the work of Improvotics. They create improv theater with ChatGPT and generative AI text to create this sort of absurd, I would not say absurd theater, but absurdity. And the actors have to kind of give coherence, and all of this to generate a lot of comedic moments, and it's very fun spectacles to watch. But obviously, they have to face the problem of AI language models containing bias and encountering inappropriate content that can be offensive. And they also it adds another layer to the narrative. There has to be curation, there has to be filters. But ultimately, even we're working with AI and it generates a lot of the text, the biggest element is still human decision. So it kind of creates a bit of a myth that working with AI is a way of cheating. It just does create another type of narrative and another type of working. There is this other interdisciplinary research group based in Czech Republic or Czechia. They did something similar. They experiment with AI writing a play and writing scripts. Again, they also have to curate. They released this book, which is, I think, free to download. So, but they actually decided not to eliminate problematic content, and they left it there on purpose. They have also meetings with the audience, discussions. It's a little bit tricky to have problematic content in the play, but they decided because they wanted to kind of give a bit of a truthful image of how the technology can work. There's also another theatre director, Jennifer Tang, that experienced this in one of her plays at the Vic Theatre. Sorry. So a bit of a conclusion. Integrated AI in storytelling and playwright offers an avenue to reflect on the emotional impact. Particularly when you have as a character, it has served, the three plays that I presented, has served to reflect on this human nature, on the idea of care, of what it means to live in this technological society. But also, particularly what improvisers are doing, and also the theatre, the Czech group, can function as a lab for art and science, where you can experiment, where you can push the boundaries, where you actually can also bring about how these technologies actually work, or what is the state and how it relates. Breaking some of the myths and misconceptions, because I think people are concerned but may not have a clear idea how those concerns should actually be happening. So I kind of put a little bit of aside because I am interested in dramaturgy, and quite often is a discipline that people go like, nobody really cares so much, or it's kind of sometimes happens a little bit aside. But I think when we do this type of research in a global, we add a little bit to offer a global overview of interdisciplinary practices bit by bit. So, and we can also try to make sense of these diverse practices, and even study the impact of a cultural impact that these interdisciplinary practice produce. So, thank you very much. It's very short. So.